Hey, this is Axe, and that's my BMW S1000rr, and I'm going to be installing that set of OHLINS suspension into that bike. First thing I did is put the rear stand up in place to hold the bike still in the back. And now I'll start removing plastics that are in the way, like the front fender. Front fender and screws off to the side. Next is the shield. Screws are all out. Slide that out, that off to the side and grab its screws. Now the mirrors, there's two nuts on the underside of each one and the other one. I'll put the nuts on the bottom, make sure I don't lose those. Looks like I'm gonna have to remove these two, that one and that one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to take those three out as well, it looks. The headlights are attached to the front housing, so I got to take the connector loose and those two screws. The whole headlight should come off with the housing. Now I'm going to do all those same things over here on this side that I did over there, including the headlight, which now of course has my radar detector in the way. Alright, if everything's loose, it should come off. Be real careful and just make sure everything is loose. So that's the inside. You have to remember that little inlet piece is just floating in there too. Something like that, make real sure it's off to the side, not going to get stepped on. I've got a few more fasteners. I've got one bolt here holding the brake junction off, and then I've got two screws that you can see hold those pieces, this kind of under piece trim. So remove those. Two screws and that's off. Now's a good time to look and cut any cable ties. We've got one on each low end here. We've got one back there for the brake lines or sensor that I may need to cut, just because what I need is access. If you see that hole at the bottom of the stem, I need to be able to get in there for the front stand. I'm also going to take this internal piece out because really it's only one more screw the way I have it made. It's been modified on this bike to account for the bigger Alpha Racing radiator, but need to get those out of the way. Those wings on the side are out. And again, just notice the more you can organize, like, hey, these are all the right side fasteners, these are all the left side ones. Anything you can do to organize is just going to make your life that much easier in reassembly. You always want to compare the new ones before you go through all the trouble of swapping them and realizing something doesn't match. So if I look at that, there's one noticeable difference from looking at the new one, and the difference is I don't see a fender mount like I do over there, but I did find them. They were in a little bag. This piece just bolts on right there, and that takes the place of this for the fender mount. Just for curiosity, I like to keep track of what weight I'm running on the bike, so I'm going to put this on the good scale to keep it fair. To put that bracket and the two screws on as well. Looks like it comes to 8.1822 pounds. And here's the Vortex front stand, ready to be used. And on the BMW S1000rr that I have, it's a 15. What I'm going to do is loosen the axle and the triple trees holding everything in place, because those motions all put a lot of force into the stand and I don't want to knock it unstable while I'm doing it. Loosening these, and you don't have to take them all the way out. Same with these. Onto those. Move the forks around if you have to. Before I loosen these guys, I'm going to measure how much gold is showing right there, because I want to make real sure I get everything put back in the same spot where it is. So I'm going to measure from the top of that tree to right where the gold meets the silver. Alright, so if I measure from the top of the triple trees to the top of the gold, it gives me 12.3 millimeters. Confirmed it with the other side too. Looks like I have to remove my radar detector mount to get at that bolt behind it. Not a biggie. Alright, I was able to loosen those two now, as well as these two. I just push this up. Now, I'm going to take these calipers off, get them out of the way, and then I can remove the wheel. Good thing to do before you take a caliper off is you can kind of rock it a little bit. I'm not going to rock it too much, but just make sure it's a smooth enough on and off. It's not all bound up. I don't want to knock the bike over, but I want to make sure there's a little play in it. Slide that off and just be real careful so it doesn't scratch anything. Just kind of hang it gently there and get the other side. Okay, both calipers are loose. I forgot to break loose the axle before I raised the bike, but I kind of realized since I already loosened those pinch bolts, you can kind of see it actually slid up further in there. So I needed to get it up on the stand to make sure it was stable. So now it's time to loosen the axle. You have to leave these two tight on this side to hold that collar, otherwise it just spins. I've just about got the front axle out, so I'm going to brace the wheel with my foot, so that it doesn't just drop or mess up the threads or something when I pull this out. Sometimes it's easier to hold by the disc. The axle out over here. Now we want to make sure we are careful around not scratching the wheel, making sure the caliper is clear. And we're good. Now we can take this out. Take that spacer out. The last thing that needs to come off is that sensor. So it looks like just two little screws. So let me take that off. It was just those two screws. That was just an alignment pin. And this has to go through there. And now that's hanging loose. And you should be ready to drop out. Just do one at a time. We'll start with the left one. Since they already moved on me once, sliding up, they should come out fairly easy, I hope. It's real gentle, like. Spin them around. You can see the clip-on is moving as well. So you're gonna lose that position and have to redo it, which is fine. It's easy to align. I'll loosen these a little bit more. All right, we cleared the top. Let's get this moved up. Okay. Let's put this up here for now. There's the left fork. If you look at them and we line up the axle point, the top ends up looking about flush where the gold and the gold. So even though the OHLINS gold part is longer and things like this piece is longer on the stock one, the end to end seems to be the same. So we're going to install it to the exact same measurements as the stock one. I'm going to take a little bit of WD-40 and spray a little bit on each of the surfaces that fork's going to go through. I want to check to make sure we have the right one, and we confirm that by looking at the other one. You can see it's not symmetrical. The caliper mounts are further in towards the bike. It's going to be like this. That surface is in toward the bike. Now I'm going to start sliding it up there real gentle. And there's one. Now I'll put our clip on. Okay. Now we have it stable. It's not loose. It's not going to fall. So we can make sure that they're just a little bit snug. You can see there's a machined surface on both sides. You want to get that in there centered. And the easiest way to do that is just use that sticker there. Get that centered with the fork behind it. I don't think it's anything functional, so just a calipered eye on it's probably sufficient. Now, if you recall from earlier, we want our 12.3 to be from the top of the triple trees to the top of the gold. And it looks like that fork's gonna have to come up a little bit. So we gotta squeeze that up without getting that off center. Now since I have it straight as far as rotation this way, and I have that centered facing out, what I did here is cleaned off the WD-40, put a piece of tape on it, and put two little marks lining it up with that pinch. So now I can bring it up to level and rotate it this way at the same time so I don't lose that. Now I have my calipers measuring where that needs to be. I still have my 2 lines lining up there. Now that we know that distance is correct, I'm going to start by tightening that first bolt because that's what's going to dictate that length. Okay, this pinch bolt is tight. That distance is correct. That mark is still good, and OHLINS is still facing directly outward. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. All right, I've got both of them set, same height. Both have the OHLINS sticker centered facing outward. Same with that one. And the front bolt is snug, but not torqued. I'm going to torque these top ones down since those need to hold everything still. There's that one. Now we're going to move the clip-ons up. We want them to go all the way up. And that little pin right there will help guide us in to make sure that the split here matches that split here. Everything's all lined up. Both clip-ons are solid in place and torqued. These are the only ones not tight. And the reason for that is we want to put all the wheel and everything on the bottom and then push the whole front end down and just make real sure these things are all centered and happy there before we tighten them. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to learn more about how to enjoy amazing machines like this.